There's a question that every Bluey fan eventually asks, usually somewhere around their third rewatch of Baby Race at midnight with fully wet eyes and no one to blame but themselves. Do the characters know? Not in a weird way, just does Bluey know, while she's living through it, what the moment means? Does Bingo understand what's happening to her in sleepy time? Does Bandit, lying on the floor of the camping episode being hunted by a 6-year-old and a French boy who doesn't speak English, have any idea that years later that afternoon is going to mean something? The show never answers this directly, but buried in several episodes and specific scenes, specific choices the writers made about what a character notices versus what they miss, there's a version of the answer, and it changes things. This is what happens when Bluey characters experience their own show. Chili watches Baby Race. Baby Race is, structurally, the most clever episode Bluey has ever made. Not the most emotional, though it gets there. The most structurally clever. It opens on the playground. Bluey is on the monkey bars, asking Chili if she's better than Judo. Chili, in that measured Chili way, says something that she has clearly earned the right to say, run your own race. Bluey asks what that means, and Chili pauses. And then she says, let me tell you a story. The entire episode is Chili watching a version of herself younger, first-time mother Chili, at Mother's Group, watching baby Bluey get lapped by baby Judo in every single developmental milestone. Rolling over, sitting up, crawling, Judo hits each one first, and first-time Chili goes a little insane about it. She gets competitive on behalf of an infant who has no idea there's a race. She positions Bluey on the floor for optimal crawling practice and watches her daughter bum shuffle backwards across the carpet and just sits there, loving her anyway and losing her mind quietly. Here's the thing about this episode that takes it from good to extraordinary. Chili is narrating it to her own kid. She is sitting on a playground bench watching a 6-year-old on the monkey bars and telling her the story of the time her mom completely forgot to run her own race. She doesn't frame it as a cautionary tale. She frames it as a confession. She is watching herself, in memory, be the exact kind of parent she is now telling Bluey not to be. And she doesn't try to explain it away or make herself the hero of it. She just tells the truth. The episode ends with baby Bluey learning to walk not because of any drill or competition, but because she saw something she wanted. Her mom, across the kitchen, doing dishes. She just wanted to get to her. That shot, Chili's face, already knowing this is coming, watching it happen again in the retelling. She's not watching her daughter. She's watching herself realize, for the first time, what the whole thing was actually about. The lesson was never for Bluey. It was Chili watching her own past and finding out she'd already learned it. Bandit doesn't know he's in the good part. This is the one that will keep you up at night if you let it. The camping episode, Season 1. Bluey meets Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc speaks only French. They cannot understand a word the other says and spend 3 days hunting an imaginary wild boar, planting a seed together, and building something that looks, from the outside, like the most complete friendship either of them has ever had. Bandit's role in this episode is to be the wild boar. He spends the better part of 2 afternoons making pig noises into a creek and getting tackled by children, completely unaware that approximately 12 years later, his daughter's gonna come back to that campsite alone and find a full-grown tree that she and a boy she'll never fully stop thinking about planted as 6-year-olds. He doesn't know he's in it. The episode ends with that time lapse, the seed becoming a sapling, becoming a tree, frame by frame, season by season. And when the tree is fully grown, older Bluey walks up to it with a book and sits down. And off in the distance, there's Jean. Bandit is not in that final scene. He's at home. He doesn't know it resolved. He doesn't know what the afternoon in the creek became. He did the boar noises and went to make dinner. The whole show is full of this. Bandit lying on the floor being a sleeping giant while the kids climb on him. Bandit doing the dinosaur voice for the 47th time. Bandit getting his back walked on and saying, "Oh, that's the spot." He is present for the ordinary versions of things that are, in aggregate, going to be the whole story of a childhood. He doesn't know he's in the good part. The David McCormack who voices him, the real human who answers questions at conventions, has said that when parents introduce their kids to him and he says "hey" in the Bandit voice, children sometimes burst into tears because it's too much for them to process. He's not blue. He's not a dog. He is, somehow, inside the man standing in front of them. The kids know Bandit is real, in a way that most fictional characters never manage to be. The question is whether Bandit knows the same thing about himself. Bingo sleeps through her own most important episode. Sleepy Time is the highest rated episode of Bluey on IMDb. For a period, it was the highest rated episode of any TV series ever on that site, until it got review bombed by Attack on Titan fans who were upset that a cartoon about a dog going to sleep was beating their finale. Which tells you something about the stakes people assign to this 8-minute preschool episode. Here's what happens. Bingo wants to do a big girl sleep. Chili says goodnight, says I'll always be there if you need me, and closes the door. Bingo falls asleep, and her dream becomes an animated trip through the solar system, scored to Gustav Holst's Jupiter, an orchestral piece so big and warm and overwhelming that the combination of it with a cartoon 4-year-old floating through space has caused an unconfirmed but statistically significant number of adults to cry on a Tuesday. The metaphor is not subtle, but it doesn't need to be. Bingo drifts out to the cold edge of the solar system. She gets cold. She sees the sun. She moves toward it. The sun speaks in Chili's voice. Remember, I'll always be here for you, even if you can't see me, because I love you. Back in the real world, Chili is just getting Bingo back to bed again. She doesn't know she's the sun. She's half asleep, tucking in a small dog for the 4th time that night, having already surrendered her own pillow to a child who stole it 40 minutes ago. Bingo, meanwhile, is having one of the most beautiful dreams ever animated in children's television, and she will not remember it in the morning. She wakes up, big girl sleep achieved, first milestone of independence crossed, and has no idea she just navigated the entire solar system to get back to her mom. She's just happy she did it. She doesn't know the dream was a metaphor. She doesn't know Chili was the sun. The episode only means what it means to the parents watching. The kids experience it as a cool space adventure and then move on. The parents sit there, at whatever hour they allowed themselves to watch Bluey after the children went to bed, holding a feeling they don't have clean words for. Bingo reacted to Bluey by sleeping through the most significant thing that was ever shown about her, and she woke up fine. Bluey's reaction is hidden in plain sight. Here is the structural trick that the whole show runs on, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Every adult character in Bluey is experiencing 2 versions of every episode simultaneously. There's the version the kids are in the game, the pretend, the immediate stakes of whether the magic xylophone gets activated or the imaginary pizza gets delivered on time. And then there's the version only the adults can see, which is what the game is actually doing, what it's teaching, what it's going to mean. Chili watches Bluey play hospital and sees a child learning to sit with uncertainty. Bandit watches Bingo attempt a magic trick for 20 minutes and sees someone learning that some things take longer than you think they should. The kids are in the game. The parents are watching a whole different show. But Bluey is the one character who exists in both spaces. She is old enough now. She has been in enough episodes, enough games, had enough of Chili's quiet confessions on park benches to start being aware that the game is doing something more than the game. She's not teaching Bluey. She's handing her something she almost missed herself. That's the show, 7 minutes at a time.